Brandon here, and this is channeled advice on the week ahead for the week of Monday, October 21st through the 27th. How are you doing? I have channel messages that came through ahead of time from my spirit guides, the angels and source for you on the week ahead, and it'll also be flowing with any additional channeled information that comes through from them. And I'll be working with my intuition and all that as well. So I have a lot, and in some ways, maybe it will be slightly different than some of the weeks before, and that's okay by me. One thing I'm being guided to tell you about as well is I realize I've been wearing the same shirt for all these videos for like the past few weeks, and I didn't do that on purpose. And even today, I asked my body, "Hey, what shirt would you like to wear today?" And my body was like, "This shirt," and I was like, "Okay, cool." And I went to grab. I'm like, "Wait, I've worn this the past like 4 weeks filming these videos," and my body's like, "Oh well, I'd like to wear it anyways." I'm paraphrasing a little bit about that conversation, but I thought it was funny. So for whatever reason, that's just the way it's been working out recently. Anyways, let's get to these channel messages here. So there were this bunch of main messages they wanted to roll through before getting to everything else that came through ahead of time, and these snuck through like right before I started filming. So they showed me the sun and the messages. The sun will be shining on you for you showing up. So keep showing up. Do not quit the things you're doing or the things you're putting in place that are making things better for you. And they really, really hammered in on keep showing up. So keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up. So anything you're doing to make your world better, anything you're doing to crawl out of any metaphorical holes in your life, whether it's financially or somewhere else in your world, keep doing those things. Don't quit right now. Now is not a quitting season, are the words I'm hearing. And it's one thing if you're getting the strong and clear intuitive message to walk away from something. I'm kind of getting it's not that time right now for all of us to do that unless you're getting that clear guidance. So this is really strong about where you're working to make your world better, however. So, and that's the message I'm getting for this crowd, for this week ahead. So, what do you need to keep showing up for that? If you keep showing up for it, it will make everything better. So, next, they show me the moon, or is there more with the sun? Because they're showing me the sun tarot card, they're showing me sunflowers with all this. So, sunflowers may be a sign. There's also this message of your world warming up. And I think I had a message like that later on as well. So, the universe is trying to warm your world up and give you more possibilities, more hope, more warmth in your life. So, can you kind of hang in there and keep showing up for yourself and giving yourself what you need until that arrives if you feel like it hasn't arrived yet? And if your world's already, there's a number of you where your world, or maybe even most of you, your world's in a good place, it's just going to get warmer. And I would allow it to be because there's a quote that they're reminding me of from, I think it's Abraham Hicks, where it's like, the better it gets, the better it gets. So no reason to limit it and how good it can get for you and your world. No reason to limit the possibilities and the future. So next they showed me the moon. The message is like confusion is clearing. And they also hammered in the message further. Don't give up right now in some way, shape, or form. So keep showing up. Don't give up. This is a hope-filled message. Like if you felt lost in the sauce recently, there's going to be some clarity coming in on directions to go, things like that. So hang in there is what I'm getting. And even like clarity regarding relationships is showing up with this pretty strongly. Like if you're not sure what to do in a relationship or about family or about moving or moving house or something like that, like you'll know and the universe will show you in no uncertain terms. I'm hearing this week for most of you, could be a little bit later on for like three or just a few of you. So hang in there with that. However, the message is also like once you get the clarity on something, like go, like do what you know you need to do about it when you know it's time to do it. And that's also a very strong message for you intuitives out there who can get that information with ease and know how your intuition works and operates. Next, they showed me a dragonfly. The message is you are evolving and things are evolving. If things get weird, just keep going. So if you didn't have any encouragement to keep showing up, don't give up, just keep going, there are 3 messages right in a row where they really hammered that message in strong for you. So just realize you're evolving, things are evolving. Things might feel weird sometimes, and that's okay. You don't have to judge it. You don't have to always figure it all out right away. Sometimes it's okay, can I be an allowance of this and keep doing the things I know to do and move in the directions I know I'm being guided to move on if you're getting that. guidance, and trust that if you're following your knowing, things are going to go great. Next, they show me an elephant and just a quick message. Well, we'll see if it's quick by the time we read through this and they give me anything else they'd like to give me. Your obstacles are being removed. And actually, that is it. So just know that there's some obstacle removing going on right now. And also, they show me the color white. They just said, what can you do to move towards purity? And it's not purity as far as judgment of what pure is, such as like from the Catholic Church of like, oh, sin is dirty and things that we judge as pure are pure, because that's not really purity. That's judgment. Uh, so it's like, what is actually pure energetically? Like, are your energies clean and clear? Are you asking Source to bring you to purity in a way that Source sees it as purity based on like knowing, intuition, and what's true, not based on like projection and judgment? And there are some examples I'm going to give as well. So, another example as far as like judging what's pure versus not pure. Sex is a topic that is great, honestly, because think of all the weird programming and social words around that topic. We're like dirty thoughts. Are they actually dirty, or were we just taught to judge them as dirty and wrong when they actually weren't? And it's just a natural thing there's nothing wrong with it at all. There's nothing bad about it at all inherently. Or, yeah, like dirty thoughts, things like that, I think are really interesting. The other thing is money could be another topic. That's not the direction they really want me to go with it. However, I already said it. So anything on that? I mean, how many of us are taught that money is bad or it's wrong or it's impure or it's dirty when that's not necessarily true at all? It just is what it is. Money just is. And if you have hundreds of millions of dollars, you could use that to buy a bunch of land and preserve like some natural resources and preserve the earth. Or if you have a bunch of money, you could buy a bunch of land and strip it of all the resources in a way that could be harmful to the world, to the earth itself. So the thing is, the money isn't the problem with any of that. It's how is it being wielded. So money in and itself, money in and of itself is pure in a way. It is pure, is what I'm hearing. It's more, how are you choosing to use it, or how are the people who are wielding it choosing to wield it? So that's where the problem lies, usually. So I guess the question could be, what is purity to you energetically according to Source? And can you receive that and become more of that, not based on judgment and projection and trying to think your way there, just manifest it and step into it, okay? It's probably the way to do it. And for some of you, it's actually a message to like clear your energies and like purify your home and make sure things are like good energetically there, because that's going to help you, especially if you've been putting that off or like thinking you need to do it, but you're not doing it. Or you're like, yeah, I need to get on a regimen where I'm clearing my energies more often and taking care of myself, or doing self energy healing sessions, and I'm not doing it. Now's the time to get on the ball, is what I'm getting. Okay. And you know, that's going to make everything greater for you. It's going to improve things. It's not to judge you or say, oh, you're wrong for not doing that. It's just, here's a recommendation that could help you and help make your world greater. Okay. And you know, regarding those things we just talked about, if you were listening to me talk and you heard me talking about those topics and you're like judging yourself now, like, oh, I was so wrong for thinking that was impure. It's not necessarily your fault. Like, you were sold that probably a lot of times in your life or through childhood. So can you forgive yourself and just move to a better place with those things with ease? And also, don't beat yourself up for beating yourself up if you can help it too. How can you allow yourself to transform with these? So, number one here, as far as the things they brought through ahead of time, I know that was all just stuff they added in before we got to the things that I channeled through ahead of time. So, they gave me the word upshift. And the question is, what do you need to put your attention on to upshift things in your life? I'll read it again. What do you need to put your attention on to upshift things in your life? Your life would like to upshift and be brought to a higher place. What has been calling your attention for you to focus on in order to upshift things? This could be intuitively. This could be things you're getting signs and synchronicities around. For example, if you're seeing signs and synchronicities around money and you're seeing money everywhere, it's like, well, do you need to focus on finances and improving your financial world, whether it's through energy work or energetically, or maybe it's a business course or something else you need to take to improve things financially. And if you do that, it makes your whole world greater. Because think about it, if you have a lot more money, that could mean you have a lot more ease because you're not stressed about money all the time, which means you could have a lot more peace potentially. You know, and that could help you upshift a lot of other areas of your life if you have ease and peace with money. So, and that's just an example. It could be a lot of different areas. And this is meant for you to call your attention to it intuitively or put this question out to the universe and see what the universe shows you for that as like a form of manifesting things in a way or asking for things in a way. So if you were to ask, hey, universe, can you help me to put my attention on things that would upshift things in my life? Thank you so much, or something like that. Or what would it take for me to upshift things? Or what do I need to focus on to make my life greater? Those are great. And you might even feel the energy shifting as I'm asking those questions. Pay attention to that. Those might be good questions to ask because you can do that for yourself by asking those questions every day too, like in the morning or something like that. So that's a good way to shift things potentially is asking questions. Even if it doesn't make sense logically to your mind, if it shifts the energies and it brings you towards that thing, great. Number two, they gave me the word business, and this number two thing might be for like a specific crowd of you. And if this one isn't applicable to you as much, then I would pay attention to number three instead. So, and maybe those will call to both of you for some of you as well. So just bear with me for these next two things here. One is about business. So for those of you who have a business or are considering a business or side project, and again, for the rest of you, you can look at number three. What is your business asking of you energetically? If you think of your business as being its own being in a way, or having its own consciousness, or both, what if you can talk to your business in like a channeled sense or an intuitive sense and start to get a sense of what it's asking for, or just get the direct message of what it's asking for and work with your business that way, which might be a bit of a different way of thinking of things to help your business along. And that can be a potentially good way to grow your business is like, hey, business, what do you require in order to grow? And start working with it that way and allowing that answer and information in intuitively or in a channeled sense instead of trying to like force it or like you need to fit in this way. So what if you were like, what would you like to be business? Like, what would you like to be in the world? Or started just working with it in a different way instead of trying to force it to fit your image. So what is your business asking of you? What if you worked with your business in a more conscious way where you asked it what it needed? What if your business would like to contribute to you and your world? So sit with that. If you're intuitive or you channel, maybe consider those things if you haven't tried them yet. And if you used to do it and now you don't do it, this is your business inviting you to work with it, is what I'm hearing, interestingly enough. So we're gonna move to number three now. So this is job. They just gave me the word job. So work is one of the areas a lot of you would like to shift. So the question to ask is, what would be rewarding to you? What would be rewarding for you to move or maneuver towards? What would be rewarding for you to bring in? If you ask that question and then move towards what you intuitively get regarding that, you'll bring in a lot of what you're looking to bring in. So start asking the question like, what would be rewarding to me? So if you're looking for a new job, would this be rewarding to me? And do you get a yes intuitively or a no? And if you're getting a yes, it's probably a positive direction to go, I guess. I know positive is kind of a weird word because it gets into like judging is good and bad, maybe. However, you know what I mean and what this could be guiding you towards, greater. So, what would be rewarding for you to maneuver towards regarding your work, whether you have a business or it's about working a job or you're trying to change jobs or you don't like your job right now? What would be rewarding to you? Number four, they showed me a gopher as well as the word shadow. So, the message is spring is coming early for this crowd energetically, regardless of what season you're in physically. So, as in, things are going to be shifting to be warmer and lighter for you. However, regarding this message, action is required. So, what are you inspired or guided to take action towards that will make things lighter for you? And if you can, get the energetic sense of things, like your options. And if it feels lighter to do something, do that. And it's not about like your emotional reaction. It's about your energetic awareness of that thing and how it's going to be if you do it. Okay. Just to try to clarify. It's not even about your mental like thoughts or stories like, oh, I hate warehouses. So all warehouses are automatically going to be dismal if I work there. It's more like, okay, what would it be like if I worked at this warehouse job? Light or heavy? If it's light, okay, awesome. It might actually be great. If it's heavy, okay, probably don't go that direction. Okay. So, what are you inspired or guided to take action towards that will make things lighter for you? That will change your world. The other thing is, it's time to move out of darkness. What darkness are you permitting that you no longer have to put up with or allow in? It is time for change that moves away from darkness in your world. Or actually, they pose it as a question. Is it time for change that moves away from darkness in your world? I'm also potentially going to take the way I read it the first time as a sign, like, yeah, it probably is. You could check in with your intuition too. However, are there people around you who drag you into darkness whenever you're around them, or it always makes you anxious, or a TV program that always makes you feel like crap? That's not the word. They use the swear word with that one whenever you watch it. Is it time to move away from that? Is the question. And it probably is. So, if there is any darkness you're noticing, where is it? And how can you start to maneuver away from it in a way that works well for you and feels like too? So, number five, they showed me golf as well as a hole in one. There's like an angel golfing and he hits the ball and it was a hole in one. And they're showing me the Tiger Woods PGA Tour. I think that was like a PlayStation 2 game or something like that. However, they just said pray and ask for miracles and take action. You will never get a hole in one if you never swing the golf club. You will never have success if you aren't doing something to maneuver or move towards it. What can you do this week to move the needle? There are actually hole in ones on the way for this crowd, metaphorically, is the other thing they added in, which is cool. So many of you will be taking action and succeeding at something, and there are some big wins on the way for some of you, something I'm hearing specifically as well. However, there is a caveat with this one where you have to take action. So, like, what actions are you guided to take? What do you know you need to do that you've been putting off that could move the needle for you, And can you just kind of keep going with the things you know are going to make a difference? Is really another question. And maybe some of you, probably not all of you, are confused on that, and that's okay. Can you do your best until you have that clarity? Because that will come in eventually. There's people you can talk to, there's sessions you can book, not even just with me, with other people. There's books you can read, there are courses, there are so many things that can give you clarity on your next steps if you're willing to receive it and have that. You don't need to force it at all. Just know that the hole in ones, the home runs, the grand slams, etc., the touchdowns. I'm going to roll through all the sports things. They're going to come from action. Is kind of what I'm getting, at least for this time period right now. And sure, there might be times where you can just sit back and receive, and you did the work, or the things are in place for that. Great, awesome. How can you receive when those times come? With total ease. Right now, there's an action you need to take, so pay attention to that. Number six, are we done with number five? There's this reminder as well with like the golf greens, like to water your grass. So self-care is important this week. And how can you water your world and nourish your world so it's greater than ever and so great that you never care what anyone else's grass looks like on their side of the fence, metaphorically, if you know what I'm saying. So how can you make your world so great you don't care what anyone else has, so you're not playing that game? And if you're more focused on that question of how can I make my world great in a way that's light and right for you specifically, like what is the greenest grass possible for you? And that's gonna be probably helpful for your world if you're putting your attention there rather than like, what does everyone else have and how come they have that and I don't? And what do they have that I don't? And like that comparison game, it's like, okay, what will it take for me to water my grass? So I'm not focused on that at all. And what does my grass need so it can be so great? I never even have to think about it again as far as what anyone else's grass is like, is kind of one of the questions, at least not in that competitive kind of way. So number six, they show the color blue. They said, what if you no longer have to sing the blues? A lot of life, people are told stories of what life has to look like, how you're supposed to react to certain situations, how you're supposed to feel when certain things happen. And you also have a lot of movies, television, and novels that hammer that in if you aren't paying attention. How have you been reacting in your world that you no longer have to react? What if the things that seem big and terrible aren't as big and terrible as people have been told and sold? How can you respond or react differently in a way that's more you instead of the pre-programmed version of reaction emotionally and otherwise? So, an example could be this example is an interesting one, but they're showing me like a pet dies, for example, and they're showing someone reacting in a way where it's like, "Oh, it's so terrible and I can't go on, and that pet was the love of my life, and they made my world," and I totally understand and have compassion for the love people have for their pets, and this isn't to say that any grief or emotional reaction that's coming up is wrong per se. However, what if there are higher harmonic possibilities with how we respond to that situation? So, what if, for example, we asked a question like, there's one they're showing me from Access Consciousness that I'd borrow, like, what's right about this? I'm not getting. And maybe you get, oh, that pet was in a lot of pain. And if they'd stayed alive, they would have had this disease and it would have been really painful and a long road. And they actually were able to be free from a lot of unnecessary suffering by dying at this point. And then you might also see some of the good, if you will, that comes out of that pet's death. For example, I'm gonna borrow from an experience in my own world from it was either late last year or earlier this year, where one of our kitties passed on. And it really taught me, and I believe my partner, quite a bit. And it really awakened us to certain things in life. And it also made the world and life greater for our other cat who has it. Not that he had it bad before, but he probably has it so much better now. There's so many things he desired that he now has, like doing certain things he'd like to do outside, for example. So the death of that cat, if you don't judge it as wrong per se, and you're just, okay, we're looking at it, sure, there's grief coming up, sure, there's emotional reaction, that's not wrong either. If you don't inherently judge it as bad and wrong, and I can't believe, like, it's life right now. Things die all the time. It's part of it seems like it's time part of being here right now as far as what's on the world. So why are we judging something that's a natural part of what exists as wrong and bad? Like that's a really interesting question to consider. And what else is possible with that? However, it really did make everyone's world greater in a sense. And it reminds me of something I think Lee Harris channeled through on this, his spirit guides. And they were like, a lot of times souls will look for a departing point and they might choose to leave if it's going to have the I'm going to paraphrase a lot here, but the greatest net positive impact for the highest good that it can have. So maybe if someone dies, it wakes up a friend to, wow, I've been asleep at the wheel and I have not been doing anything to create my dream reality. And I've been spending 2 years with this. Maybe they're dating someone they're not really that into, and it just kind of fell into it. And they're kind of going through the motions. They're like, I'm spending all my life with this person that I don't really want to spend it with. And I could die tomorrow. And I never got to experience the love I truly desired to have in life. Or maybe it's a certain experience with romantically or something else. And maybe it's not possible with that person. So they have to wake up to what do they truly desire in life and what would make their world greater. So that's part of what I mean about not inherently judging it as wrong and reacting a certain way and being so wrapped up in it, you don't see the other possibilities with that thing. And I realize death is maybe a really interesting topic, but that's the one they steered me towards when I was talking about this because so many people really do judge it as like wrong and bad inherently when there could be something else possible with it. They're telling me to kind of move on from it. I hope I got the point across. I feel like there's more I could probably say on this topic. There's probably a lot I could say on this topic. But where else have you been potentially programmed to react a certain way to certain things, where if you went with your knowing on it and your intuition and your divine guidance, you could see a whole other possibility that would make your world greater with it. So, another example could be a friend walks out of your life, or maybe someone breaks up with you, or you lose a job. And if you're willing to ask, like, okay, what might this be creating for me? What possibility is this opening up for me? Or again, borrowing from Access, like, what's the best way to do this here? Like, what's right about this I'm not getting, I guess. And you're willing to get that information. You're like, oh, I now have the opportunity to find my dream job. Or, oh, that person walking away opened up space, and a year later, my dream person walked in. You know, like there's all these different things that are right about what's happening or could be a higher possibility or harmonic that's available if you're willing to be open to that instead of thinking you're wrong for responding in a peaceful way that you weren't programmed to respond in. Does that make sense? Okay, so number 7. Okay, so the other part of this that I didn't say yet is this is your call to get present so you aren't reacting blindly and maybe ask questions as well. So, presence is something else that's going to help with this topic instead of getting wrapped up in how you have to react, that everyone taught you to react, that everyone thinks you're wrong or crazy if you don't react that way, that maybe isn't even the best way that's possible for you to react. So I'm not saying there's any wrong way to react. It's just, what if there's a better way? Okay. Number 7. So can you get present? Could you work on your presence a bit this week is another recommendation. And just around this time period, it seems like a topic that's important. So now 7, hope and possibilities. For this crowd, you will do better if you are examining, asking for, and maneuvering towards hope and possibilities, especially future possibilities, rather than studying and examining and getting wrapped up in the world story and low vibrational spell, of doom and gloom. So it's not like a witch that's casting a spell. It's just like an energy that's out there, like through the news and things like that, or just social media posts. Like everyone's like, I can't buy a home. It's like, I totally understand and have compassion for how it might seem or appear more difficult that it did in the past to buy a home. However, what if you change that to what is possible as far as me buying a home, or what are the possibilities that could get me to having a home or something like that, and kind of flipped it and looked at the possibilities instead of the assumption that you can't because everyone else is posting that, or something like that. And how can you change your world that way is something I'm getting to say too. So, how can you ask for and look for and even create hope and possibilities instead of getting lost in the sauce of doom and gloom that most people will readily hand you? Yes, a hot steaming plate of doom and gloom. So glad I turned on the TV today. That's a joke. So, I kind of already spelled that out, with the example I gave. It's, where are the possibilities? What can you ask for and manifest? What can you work on, maybe even possibly in your world and on yourself to create more possibilities? Like, what's available to you that you don't even realize is available to you to get you to places you'd like to go? So try to put your attention and awareness on hope and possibilities instead of buying into the doom and gloom. One thing they're telling me to tell you as well is some people talk about how if you're like buying the point of view, like, oh yeah, it's difficult to buy a house, or oh yeah, this is so terrible and everything's going crappy. It's like you're almost potentially contributing to that being the case by like taking that point of view and like believing it and buying it instead of going like, what would it take for that to get better? Or, is that true? Is that true for me? Is that true for the world? Or at least like invited in a higher possibility. Because that's going to be a different vibration than just like, oh yeah, buying into this thing that maybe you didn't need to, and maybe you didn't need to like contribute to that vibration being there, by like locking it in with a point of view or a belief. They're saying you get it, so let's move on here. It's not to make you mad, though if you are getting mad, that's okay too. Again, this is supposed to help make your world greater when you're tuning into this, even if it's uncomfortable. So, number 8, can you work on your receiving so you can have abundance? What can you do to work on your receiving? What can you do that gets you in the energy of receiving? What videos, what meditations, what energy work exercises, what questions you put out there? Now is the time to really go hard into the energy of receiving and staying there and really making sure you're there instead of guessing or thinking you are when you really haven't done any work to get there. So, and there is a certain energy to receiving and being in receiving. It's potentially difficult to explain. What would it take for it to be easy to explain? We'll see. However, if you like read a certain book about and they start talking about receiving, like Access Consciousness could be another good example, like because they'll talk about receiving a lot, and there's an energy that's there, and you'll start to get the sense of what it's like to be in receiving and to receive and to open to that. or if there's a meditation that steps you into energy of receiving, and then all of a sudden, an example I could give is, I believe it's Upshift Your Abundance by Lee Harris. There's a course and there's an exercise that's like a guided meditation for receiving that he does at some point, or receiving what's for you. And I remember I would go through it, and then through like the rest of the day, it'd be like, my girlfriend would like give me like, oh, here's this thing I got you from the store. Oh, I bought you this thing from Amazon. Oh, here's this thing. Oh, did you want this thing? And it's like all of a sudden, like people would just be like giving me things because I like said I was like in that energy of receiving. So how can you get into that every day and realize you're worthy of that and deserving of receiving and having great things come your way, and that there's nothing wrong with it? And you can't really have too much per se. I know other people might judge it as, oh, you're receiving too much. You have too much. That's wrong. That's bad because I was told it's wrong when I had too much. And people came down on me because they thought it was wrong because they were told it was wrong and bad. And so now I'm going to do that to you. And you're like, you don't have to buy into that anymore. You could just receive and have and live in that abundance. So just an idea, or you could see if that feels true and light to you, or if you're getting a yes. So how can you get in your receiving more? Can you put a meditation on every day, a video, read a book on it, whatever it is? I believe there is a channel guided meditation on receiving in the Let's Go Higher membership, which is my monthly membership. So that's an option. I also know there was a live I facilitated on YouTube for like Lionsgate like 2 years ago, or maybe last year, that has to do with receiving as well. So whatever resonates for you as a resource to get in the energy of receiving and assisting you with upping your abundance and the greatness of your world that way, please consider putting it on every day. And that's it. I hope this helped, resonated to whatever is for your eyes good. If you'd ever like to go further with me and my work, brandonhbloom.com is my website, and there are tons of ways to go further with my work if it calls to you. There's a Let's Go Higher membership with full channel mode sessions, channel guided meditations, channel messages on the month ahead that are exclusive for that group, that are really geared towards that group, as well as a Q and channeled A, which is members submit questions and I'll channel information for them based on those questions to help them out and help to move their world to a greater place, or contribute to their world moving to a greater place. And you can find that, of course, on my website. I also have channeled and intuitive life coaching, as well as channeled and intuitive private readings you can book through brandonhbloom.com. I also just released Step Out into the World and Shine, a channeled audio bundle with a full channel mode session and a channeled guided meditation, which are designed to encourage you, uplift you, maneuver you towards stepping out into the world and shining in the ways you're meant to, so you can have the impact you're meant to for the highest good. It's meant to align you with your purpose and just move you in that direction. So if that calls to you, you can also find that in a link below or through the store on my website at brandonhbloom.com. So there's so much more I could invite you to. There's valueartandcrystals.com with channeled art and channeled energy healing symbols and crystals. And I'll let you take a look at all that as you feel called to, if you are. Besides that, again, I hope this helped, and I'll see you on another video.